First, I would like to start with Dr. Jagseth about Shatabdi Gayakudu, our legendary singer, music director, freedom fighter, Sri Gantasala Garu. I want a few words about Dr. Jagseth.
Thank you, Bala, and thank you so much for inviting me, who is not in this field, to participate and celebrate the birth centenary of Sri Gantasala Guru Garu. It's an incredible journey. There are people like that who you take so much pride in knowing that they have Indian origin, Indian traditions, and actually world famous at the same time. There are three things about Sri Gantasala Guru Garu I think is unique in my mind. First has to do with music itself. There is nothing that bonds like a glue among humans than music. It bonds at a family level, at a community level. You see village folks having music, music and dances. Bonds definitely at a nation level. The national anthem is the one that creates a feeling of something that nobody can ever forget every time you sing national anthem, whichever country you are in. It's definitely a part of religion. Every faith has a music of some sort or the other. This is a universal bonding mechanism with an emotion that bonds in a way that you can never forget. In a family, for example, people listen to music late at night, totally dead silence. And music creates a stir in the mind and the heart in a way that nobody can forget. There are people who will have nothing but music collections, whether it's on Pandora type devices or their own. And I know friends who have 5,000 songs recorded, stored in some place, and they want to listen all the time while they're driving. So music has a unique characteristics. Now in that field, somebody to excel is even extraordinary. In the case of Sri Gantasala Garu, I found something fascinating. He was not only a musician, but an innovator. He innovated things, which is very unusual. He was very versatile. He could not only sing, but he could compose and direct music. Even silent movies had a music. Without music, silent movies would have had no impact. And today, the soundtrack of music is as critical as actors and whatever the scenes that we have. Music creates that extraordinary sense in a movie that nobody can do. And this was an extraordinary human being. 118 movies, the music director, top singer, singing in many languages. And also, most importantly, he could sing at 3 different levels of octaves to match the actors and the actresses, which is again very unusual. So I found fascinating that he was not just a great music singer, but a music innovator and a versatile human being. Second thing about Gantasala Garu I liked very much is that all great human beings have adversity in their younger days. When he was growing up, his father died. And as you know, how critical fathers are, along with mothers in our family. They are the backbone in many ways. And he was a musician, his father also. Raised by his maternal uncle or somebody. The early hardship, if you survive, builds a character. And that character is your guide, an anchor with which you do everything in life. You have all the temptations, you have all the pressures, but your guide basically says, what is right or wrong I should do. And I think that was a great character. He was a brilliant, brilliant person who had an inner strength that one could not even imagine till somebody goes through hardships, as refugees do, for example, or as people who are involved in social activism go through, for example. That part, again, I really appealed to me very much about this human being. And the third thing is that most of these great human beings have a purpose in life. They're not only passionate, but they have a purpose in life. And because of that purpose that he had in his life, even though he was a great musician, he actually participated in freedom fighting movement, Quit India movement. 18 months of jail at one of the toughest jails in India, that's extraordinary. Nobody asked him to do that. It comes from inner strength. So I very much think that Gantasala Garu definitely deserves Bharata Ratna, if the government will allow. I think it's the greatest recognition we can make with people so extraordinary, so that the next generation remembers and the legacy continues. Especially in our what are called vernacular languages, because English is becoming dominant language. I primarily can speak only in English, not as good in Gujarati, not as good in Hindi. I'm a Gujarati, but I still feel like when I hear Gujarati songs and dandiya ras, I get different feeling altogether. We need to preserve our cultural, subcultural identities as we become a great integrated nation at the same time. And he was one of those who rose above every subculture. He could do as good an emotional job of singing in Telugu as he can do in Hindi, as he could do in Tamil language or any of the South Indian languages. Which is why every time I talk to somebody about him, they all know. They all recognize him. As we recognize great authors, as we recognize great poets, as we recognize great philosophers of India, I think it is in the same category that Sir Gantasala Garu belongs. I'm so glad that you asked me to talk about him, because I learned a lot quite about him, and he has become one of my heroes in the past. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Jagseth. Your speeches are always encouraging and spellbound. I really love the way you spoke about Sri Gantasala Garu, because you really said, the 3 octaves about his voice. That is quoted by even one of the famous South Indian music directors, Sri Pendyala Garu, who said that, and then later Lataji and Muhammad Rafi also said the same thing. That's not possible for anyone, and you said that means a lot. And thank you very much for coming today.